Hello, I am Roger Pine from Holistiplan. This is our Winning with Holistiplan series, and I'm here with Kara Downey, Molly Balunek, and they're with Endeavor Wealth Advisors in Ohio. Thank you for joining me, y'all. It's great to see both of you on the program today. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
It'll be fun.
And by the way, for those wondering why I'm wearing this ridiculous shirt, this is a tuxedo. We wear this to remind ourselves that tax planning doesn't have to be super serious. It doesn't have to be that hard, especially when you have great tools like Holistiplan. So, all right. So I would like to hear from y'all. How did you team up? How did you start your firm, build your firm?
Well, it's kind of a neat story. Molly and I met about 20 years ago when we worked together at the same firm. And we worked together about 7 years, I think, before Molly left to start her own firm. But we became very close when we worked together, and just always daydreamed about the day that we would become business partners or work together or do our own thing. And it took about 18 years for that dream to come to a reality. But we had taken a little bit different paths in between. I had started a firm, she had started a firm. We shared some office space for a while, and it became pretty evident that, what we had talked about many years prior was a really good course of action for us to merge our businesses. We have similar philosophies, similar personalities, similar work styles, and a high level of mutual respect for one another and the businesses that we built. So at the beginning of 2020, which was a great timing of things, decided to officially merge our businesses together. It was in December, January, right before everything sort of fell apart. So here we are, two and a half years into our merger into our new business, Endeavor Wealth Advisors.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah, it's been successful so far. Lots of integration now that we've returned from our pandemic hiatus. We're spending a lot of time and energy working to get our systems and our processes and our data combined.
Great. Yeah. And we will revisit that topic. The 18-year separation is really interesting because our CTO at Holistiplan, he and I worked together in a different industry. We were in the energy business in 2001. We were in the same room when September 11th happened, went our separate ways, and then got together actually at the beginning of 2020 after all those years apart. And it was a similar deal. Like, we just got along great when we worked together, but kind of did different things. And then we just happened to be at a place where we were both looking for something new at the same time. So super interesting coincidence there. 18 years or something special.
There must be something about the
something about that number. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. Well, looking at your website and getting to know you a little bit before this call, one of your focus areas that you mention on your website is working with women clients. And I'd be interested in learning more about, how you landed on that focus area, and then what are some of the unique issues you encounter working with specifically targeting women as clients.
Mm-hmm. It's been an interesting journey for sure. When I went out on my own, which is now about 10 years ago, there were a number of clients who chose to continue to work with me. And it was recommended to me that I meet with those clients and ask them what they liked about working with me. Interestingly, the majority of them were women. And I spent some time talking with the women about what they liked about working with me. And I was solo at that time. So the answers that they gave me were the foundation of developing a focus and marketing on working with women. They liked working with me because I gave them time. I made them feel that, their time was valuable, and the time that I spent with them, helping them understand the time that their money would last for them. And this one client really emphasized this time aspect and understanding how to make the most of the resources that they had. And that was pretty consistent throughout the meetings that I had with the folks. And so I developed a marketing plan around having guided conversations about money for women. And started hitting the pavement, right? That's what we do. And planned these in the beginning, very elaborate events because I had a lot of time. So I could plan ahead, and I had little party favors, and I was networking in the community. Of course, I already had relationships in the community, in the financial services, the attorneys and accountants. Went to events focusing on women, met 2 or 3 new people, took them to coffee, invited them to my events, which for me gave me a way in which to present my skills, because I am pretty introverted. And so all that stuff was, not that comfortable for me. And over time, then the referrals started coming in of women. And we also have found that in our clientele, there's many couples, but there are couples in which the woman has a voice, a significant, an equal voice in the financial decisions. And then Kara, when she was building her business, because we didn't get together for a few years, found the same thing, I think.
Yeah, very much so. And I think a lot of it has to do with you sort of attract what is similar to you. We happen to be women, and women do like to work with other women. At least that's what we've found in the women that have chosen to work with us. Mm-hmm. So that's been exciting for us. We understand the what it's like to be a woman. We understand what it's like to be a woman in a professional setting. So we have a lot in common, and we really strive to bring that level of comfort and trust to each relationship that we develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I applaud the focus. This may seem like a tangent, but I promise it's not. Did y'all see the movie Nomadland? Did y'all see that movie?
I've not seen that. It's on my list.
It
Netflix.
won the Academy Award. I saw it on an international flight. This is like a year ago, just randomly, and only afterwards did I realize it won like Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress. And I immediately read the nonfiction book afterwards upon which it was based. And I don't remember the exact stat, but it was fascinating to me to read that among senior citizen women, the incidence of poverty is far beyond that of their male counterparts. And there's several reasons for that. One of them is for various cultural reasons, women in many times are pulled out of the workforce for caregiving reasons. That's a thing that happens. Even when they're in the workforce, there's a pay gap. And so the ability to save is different. But then also downstream of that was the amount of Social Security you can collect as a result of your earning power over your whole life. And that to me was really eye-opening, because it just shows that women as a population, the stakes are that much higher for good financial planning, because I guess there's less room for error. You know what I mean? Like, you have to work that much harder because you have that much of a headwind in all parts of your earning power. And that really was eye-opening to me. I didn't realize that stat until I saw it, but then when I did, it made total sense. And so to me, like, there's almost a moral imperative to make sure that great, like, complete financial planning is available, especially to women who don't have all the advantages that their male counterparts have in the workforce. So anyway, I'm preaching to the choir, but like, that was kudos to y'all for focusing on that area, because I mean, clearly it's an area where not just investments, but planning can make a big difference. So anyway, that's me on my soapbox saying y'all are doing great. So
thank you, Roger. Well, and it's interesting to hear you share that, because one of the things that we were talking about when we prepared for this is the generations of our clients. Like, our clients span quite a wide age gap range. Many of mine are more in retirement, whereas Kara's working with working women. So it makes me think, how do you think that the desire to save and plan in the 40 and 50 and 60-year-old women is different because of some of that knowledge?
Yeah, probably. And I think the world has changed a lot. It still has a long way to go, but I think the world has changed, and that there are more women in professional work settings, or more female business owners. Quite a few of my clients are female business owners with a very high earning potential. That wasn't the case, several decades ago, or when your clients were coming up. So it's interesting to see how that spans across our client base.
Yeah.
We get to see how that is changing in real time.
Yeah.
And certainly empowering the women to be good savers and good investors and good planners along the way. And that's what we really try to do. Less of the, do what I say, and more of a let us help you approach, which seems to be successful, at least in our firm.
Great.
Yeah, and we'll see how that changes in the generation, because many of the women clients that I'm working with who are in their late 70s and 80s, and they were in traditional, more female traditional employments at that time, but then their husbands have died and now they're the sole manager of the money, and they have I think more fears of running out of money, there's a lot of fears that women have that are usually described as living under a bridge, and it'll be interesting to see whether the younger folks have that, because they've been more empowered at a younger age and earlier in their careers to save their own money.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And you just hope that if we can close the pay gap as a society, then because there's even for someone who is indeed at the top of their game and they have that high profile job, again, like if they're not earning what their counterpart is, maybe in the same company, the financial planning is that much more meaningful for them, right? It's that much more impactful. Like their counterpart may get a few more bad decisions they're allowed to make just by virtue of difference in earning power. So anyway, it's a fascinating area. I think it's probably something that people could think is a simple difference, but actually it goes very deep. So I appreciate y'all thinking about that and working as you do every day in your firm. I would like to learn about, Holistiplan is a technology company, and so far the only technology we've talked about is movies on airplanes. But how do y'all incorporate technology tools into your practice? How do you deliver your service offering to your clients? You're a new firm, so you want to
start with the analog?
Yeah, you've kind of had to build from scratch, right? If you started in 2020 together, obviously in the industry for a long time, you had to be very thoughtful about how you built your tech stack. How did you go about that?
What can I say? In the interest of levity. So Kara's introduced me to a lot of new technology tools. I'm a little older, and one of them is this tax planning software. So I had been using a spreadsheet which had origins in Lotus 123.
Nice.
And that I had updated roughly over the years to be able to give me a rough yardstick. And then, when we joined the firm and Kara shared this tool that she had come across, then I moved into the 20th century.
Well, when I started my firm prior to joining forces with Molly, I had made the conscious decision when I left the firm that I was with that I really wanted to be able to do my job anywhere. So it was very purposeful for me to adopt tools that I could afford, but also grow into, at least for a few years, that would allow me to be efficient and to service more clients and not get too bogged down by some of the inefficiencies that can come with not having those tools. Mm-hmm. So some I had used prior in other settings, others were brand new. Some worked, some didn't. But I did make a very conscious effort about what tools to use. A financial planning software was a must. A data aggregation system was a must. And really the final piece, and no, you didn't pay me to say this, but really the final piece was I had been hunting and searching for a good tax planning tool, because Molly and I both have a strong background in tax. I have a degree in accounting. And there was really nothing in our planning softwares that address the tax situation, which is probably one of the most important pieces of a holistic planning relationship, is the tax aspect. So I was delighted to find Holistiplan and the ease in which it works, at least on our side, and the tremendous amount of time that it probably took for it to be developed where it is today. I was probably one of your earlier adopters, because it just was a desperate need that needed to be filled. So I think between the planning, the investment research tools that we use, the data aggregation system that talks to our custodians, and the tax planning software, I think we have a pretty good, well-rounded tech stack, at least for a firm of our size.
What tools are you?
Off-the-shelf kind of tools.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what kind of tools are you looking at now, or what still lives in a spreadsheet that you haven't quite been able to find out there in the world yet?
It's interesting you ask, because we had one final piece, at least for me, that was living in a spreadsheet or living on a piece of paper, and that was our rebalancing software. And about a year ago, we adopted a rebalancing software, which I think was life-changing. It comes with a lot of preparation, a lot of developing the tools to make them work for you, a lot of upfront work. But it has been, especially in a volatile market environment, it allows us to be a little more quick in how we position portfolios. But we use one of those. We use, of course, Morningstar to do our research. We use a system called Advise-On to do our data aggregation and billing. And then, of course, Holistiplan, and then Tamarack is our rebalancing software. And then we have a tool that votes proxies. So we're really building upon the available technology that's out there, which really allows us to keep in-house the tasks that we can't outsource. So it makes us a little more efficient and a lot more available to our clients, which is the very thing that we can't outsource ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's always helpful for me to hear how we fit into people's tech stack, because I for so much of my time, I'm very focused on one piece, which is what we do. But I really need to bring my head up and hear, okay, here's all the things we're doing for our clients, and here's still what lives in a spreadsheet. To me, what lives in the spreadsheet is always where the opportunity is for tech entrepreneurs, right?
Do you have anything that still lives in a spreadsheet?
I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
As I don't think so. I mean, I still sometimes if I'm because it's harder for me to learn it. I'm learning it, how to use all the technology, and I also, when I started my firm 10 years ago, wanted to be able to work from anywhere. So at that time, I adopted all cloud-based tools so that they'd be available, but they were not nearly as time.
You were way ahead of your time.
Well, for once, but they weren't nearly as built out as we are now. But sometimes because it takes me a little bit longer, there's still some old habits that are dying hard, where it's easier for me to just export something into a spreadsheet and manipulate it rather than use some of the tools. But Kara's really working on helping me to let those habits leave them behind and move on. And so it's, it's coming along.
Yeah.
Every now and then, it's one of those experiences for me that can both make me feel defeated and victorious all in the same day.
Yeah. And for the record, I'm not anti-spreadsheet. I mean, like it's a very valuable, flexible tool. It's just what I'm interested in is when there's a spreadsheet that a company keeps going back to. When it's like, we have a template spreadsheet to solve this problem. That's different from I need to just crank some numbers because I have to deal with this, organizing data in a certain way. It's those repeatable things.
No, not anymore.
No, I don't think so.
I think the tax and the rebalancing were our two biggest.
Those were the last two. Okay.
Those were the last two, and we've addressed those pretty hard.
Nice. Well, it's an honor to be a part of the tech stack. So thank you for having your faith in us. All right. Well, every time we do one of these calls, we do a section called Roger in the Hot Seat. You can ask me any question you want. The more uncomfortable, the better. So do your worst. Lay it on me.
Well, we didn't really have a question that we thought might make you uncomfortable, but after we read about your background, one of the things that we were curious about was whether you miss being a financial planner.
Yeah, good question. I did it for 10 years, which is a significant part of my career. I had another career before that, and then that one. I don't miss it. And the reasons why are I feel like I get to do the best parts of the parts that fit me best now. Like what I loved, I'm a big believer in financial planning as a force for good in the world. Like I truly believe in that. And so to be able to help advisors like you do that in a scalable way and I love programming computers. Like the ability to do those things, I enjoy way better than being confined. That's not the right word, but I felt confined by the 50 to 100 relationships. It wasn't really a good fit for me in the long run. There are advisors who it's a great fit for, and those are the ones who I draw inspiration from. It just wasn't something that I could see myself doing long-term. So actually, like my midlife crisis is when I was like, is this something I can do for 20 more years and really love what I do? And I decided, no, I'm going to take the elements of it that I do like and try to bring financial planning to more people. So I don't miss it. I do miss being part of the community. I mean, I was very active in like the NAPFA organization. So a lot of my advisor friends hung out with a lot. But now I just see them, but I'm standing in the vendor booth where they try to avert their glance from seeing me, but right. I still get to see them. I still feel part of the community. So
well, you are a part of the community because you're providing a tool that's very, very helpful to all of us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I like to think that I still am, but it's just different now, right? I have a different relationship with the profession than I did, but I mean, I love what I do. So I don't regret leaving, and there's nothing wrong with the job. I draw inspiration from y'all. My wife is still an advisor. The firm that I worked in, my wife runs now. And so I hear every day about this client was complaining about this. And I just go, I'm glad that's not me anymore, but, but, she also gets to benefit from those relationships where you really get to see when you move the needle in someone's life. And I don't get to see that now. Like someone will upload a tax return and we'll write back. Like there was one last week. It looked like we found a $30,000 error on the return. And we wrote back to the advisor, like, it looks like there's a $30,000 error on the return. And that gives you, but we never heard back. So I don't know.
Oh.
We never see that loop get closed, right? So like we put stuff in your lap that says, go talk to your client about this idea. And I kind of can imagine in my head how satisfying it would be to have that conversation because I remember having it, but we don't see the end of the story. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this sort of series where we talk with advisors is because it helps us see firsthand and hear firsthand how you're using technology tools to kind of have those conversations and those outcomes. So I missed that too.
Up for him?
I know you don't have to give me anything. It's fine.
Well, we had, we were considering what kinds of examples, and we were chatting about this the other day, and just how many examples that we have of this, using this piece of software to have those conversations. That it helps develop our relationships even deeper with our clients because they have specific tax questions, and to have a tool like this and understand how it works has been really, really valuable. For example, I have a client who on Friday has told me that she's ready to leave her job where she earns quite a bit of money, and she would like to earn half of what she's earning now because she believes that will allow her more time, less stress, and the question was, what if I earn less for the next 10 years? What does that look like? So in my head, I'm putting all my technologies together. How am I going to answer this question for her? And of course, Holistiplan is in there because I'll be able to run a scenario for her. Here's what your tax situation looks like now. Here's what it will look like if you earn less. Here's what your saving potential will be. You'll still have X number of dollars to live on. And then with that, we can take that to our planning software and then do long-term projections based on that. So that's just one example, a recent example of how I plan to use the tool. But I've found mistakes that were made by the tax preparer. Those are really, I wouldn't say good conversations to have with the client, but it helps them to know that we are so familiar with their situation that we can find those pieces of information that are either missing or incorrect. We can find them really quickly because we know exactly where to look. So it really helps us develop really our relationships with our clients and deepen our relationship with our clients. So again, not that you paid us to say that, but we were excited that you invited us here today because we really do think very highly of it, and it helps us do our jobs even better. And things we would normally push back to the CPA, we can do in-house now. Mm-hmm. And that's huge. It saves us time. It helps us develop our expertise and trust.
Well, I appreciate
another
that.
Area where another area we see a lot of opportunity in coming years is the planning around inherited IRA distributions. With the change in the tax law, they have to take it out over 10 years, and many of the people are still working and they're in their peak earning years, and some of it's bridging retirement. So that's been a place where it's been really helpful to be able to model that out over a couple of years.
Yeah,
because you can take it out a few years. So that was just some timely examples.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I miss kind of seeing how those stories play out, but I use my imagination and hope that they are playing out. Because like I said, I think financial planning is a force for good. And so I know if we can just get it in the hands of more people, there'll be that many more stories like those out there, millions more, hopefully, if we do our job right. So, okay, well, thank you for that. Not the most awkward question I've had, but that's fine. I appreciated the chance to answer it. So we always finish with this because it's winning big with Holistiplan. So I'd be interested in hearing from both of you, what is the most epic thing that you've ever done? Were you prepared for that question? Most epic thing you've ever done? Okay.
And I think it made me realize just how boring my
for sure.
my life. I haven't climbed any mountains lately, or
you haven't done any. I was going to say
any backpacking trips. Haven't done any of those. But I would say that probably for me, the biggest personal and professional epic thing I've ever done is, leave that safe, secure, comfy job that gave me a steady paycheck and started over. Started with zero clients. And said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build this firm, and I'm going to build it the way that I see where I can be the most effective. And wherever that takes me is great. But in the moment, it's a little bit terrifying to walk away from, what you've built somewhere else and have this giant leap of faith that it's going to work and that it's going to work out. And it did work out.
Mm-hmm. I came to the same conclusion, really. I mean, I'm probably the most boring person I know, and yet, took that risk. And my circumstances were slightly different, but ultimately it was a big leap of faith to not have any income for a couple of years while building from the ground up. And I think I have daughters, young adult daughters, and I think about the example that set for them too, because they are ambitious and accomplished, in their own way. And I wasn't like that when I was 20. I didn't get to that until I was almost 40. So, it's great to see the impact that has in our family lives and in the community and the relationships we've built. I wish there was something more exciting.
I know.
But there just isn't.
But
But it is the thing of which I am the most proud in my life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I'm glad to have had a chance to talk about it for the time that we've had. The most epic thing you've done is the thing we got to talk about during our time. So I love that.
How lucky are we?
Yeah. We get to do what we love to do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the support for what we do at Holistiplan, but mostly just thank you for doing what you do for clients. Like I said, what you do is a force for good. And we at our firm draw inspiration from advisors like you who are there doing what you need to be doing every day. So I love how we can help you, and let us know how we can help more. I really appreciate the chance to talk with you, and have a great summer, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You too.